Welcome to Talkin' with Dave. Here's Dave.
Hey, what's going on out there? How y'all doing? I hope you are doing well. We're top shelf over here. Haven't always been, though. I hate to admit it. This may surprise you. But I have not always been good or won at everything that I've done. Let's let that sink in. I spent the biggest part of the first, I'd say, 12, 15 years of my adulthood failing. Really, the only thing I accomplished from the time I graduated college, maybe let's say 25 to 35, I did a really good job of obtaining a couple of migraines a week, high blood pressure. I really overachieved and, got some stomach ulcers. That was a little extra. And so at that point, I realized I got to do something different. Now, you wouldn't know that looking at the juggernaut before you today. But I'm going to share some personal stuff with you today. But also, the reason I'm doing it is because failure is a fact of life. I've talked these last few podcasts, we've gone everything from straight hate to rejection to, I put happy place in there. Yeah, that make you, because you need your happy place to deal with failure. And, it's part of life. It's gonna happen. If it hasn't, it will. I know it has. And so by failure, everything I talk about is at home, work, or play. But there's, some very famous failures out there. Thomas Edison said, look, I've not failed. I just found 10,000 ways that doesn't work. That's a great way to look at it. And there's a lot of examples out there. Even J.K. Rowling, the Harry Potter author, she was rejected by every publisher around. She was living on welfare. She was struggling. She was a single mother. She was in bad shape, but she kept on going. And now I think everybody knows. If you don't know who she is, if you've heard of Harry Potter, I've never read one word. Can you believe that? I haven't. I've not even seen the movies. But I know who she is. And I know she's very accomplished. One of my faves, Colonel Sanders. Colonel freaking Sanders. Everybody knows the Colonel. And most people know his story. The thing is, he was pitching this fried chicken recipe. He didn't have any success until his 60s. Can you imagine Mrs. Sanders? Dude, get a job. Do something else. I'm sick of chicken for dinner. But, hey, look what happened. He persevered. I didn't know this, but Walt Disney got fired. He worked at a newspaper. He was an editor, and then he tried to expand and be more creative. He was fired because he had no imagination and no good ideas. His first animation had caused him to go bankrupt. Well, I think we all, like him or not, like Disneyland or not. I don't think anybody thinks of lack of imagination with Disney. But I'm telling you, my favorite, and we've always heard it, other than me, but we've always heard about Abraham Lincoln, but I think we forget the story. He failed at everything. He's this tall, lanky, awkward, ugly human being. Hey, you don't have to be good looking to be successful. But failure after failure, business failures. He had a store, went bankrupt. He had no money. Politically, he lost many times. Politically, he just kept going. He built a law career. He faced so many professional struggles. He taught himself the law. He couldn't afford to get into law school, so he taught himself just by reading everything he could. And then when he became a lawyer, he faced a lot of his clients. They wouldn't pay him. And so he lost, and then he tried to get back into politics, and he lost in Congress. He lost in the Senate. And then, all those setbacks, he had all kinds of personal problems with his, with death of his mother when he was 9 years old. He overcame all of that, and he's had sons that passed away at early ages. So, I mean, this guy couldn't buy a break. But despite all of that, you know the story. I mean, he presided the United States through the Civil War. Regarded across the board as, if not the one of the most influential people and the best president that we've had. I mean, that was being president before all this craziness. So I'm not here singing all these people's praises for any other reason that they overcame the same stuff that we overcome. That's it. It's not any harder on them than it is us, because it's real when it's happening to us. There's a couple of things. The main quote I want to say, and I love the quotes. The one that stands out for me most is, failure is not the opposite of success. It's part of it. I love that. Failure is not the opposite of success. It's part of it. It's a good one. It's a good one, and I believe it. I believe it 100%. Early on, I mean, I was kind of, I've told my story a little bit, and it's not that great of a story, but I'll be honest with you. I'm the third child, and my older sisters, had a little rougher than me. I was so lucky young. I mean, I grew up, I was a third child, so I had a little easier than my sisters. But also, I had more freedom. I was a boy, so they gave me more freedom. I'm not saying it's right or wrong. I lived in a community. There was a bunch of different circles, and there were just tons of kids my age or a little older that lived around, so you could always have a ball game or have somebody to talk to. And I don't know, I was shy, but I had good social skills within my groups. And so, in high school, I was still kind of shy. I went to college locally. I don't know that I had failed at anything because I hadn't really tried that much outside my comfort zone. So I was kind of, a little bit of a Eddie Haskell in me. Most of the other parents liked me. Well, at least they acted like, except for a couple. I know who you are, too. But, hey, whatever. All of that to when I got out in the real world, I thought it all come easy. I thought I had a high profile job. I was the marketing director for this inventor guy. I thought I was something else. And I was something else other than successful. And so it was crazy. I mean, the business did well and it ended up going somewhere else, but I was lost. I was without a job. And so you start realizing, all right, everything doesn't come easy. You got to work for it. And when you're going to work for it, you're going to have failures. You're going to be told no. You're going to have rejection, all the things that we've talked about. The thing is, I got married, and then I started having children. I wouldn't change a thing. The point is, when you face life, you're going to have failures. You all know that. It's how you respond to it. And everything may be going well, and then one area of your life, it may hit you hard. So you got to be prepared to take this. And I know we are. A lot of the reasons I do these, it's not for you. It's so you can be equipped to hopefully help other people and come back to me. I get great feedback, things that I haven't even thought about in relation to things I've said. So that's why we do a lot of this, is so sometimes I hear all the time, hey, what would you say in this situation? And usually I'll ask, well, what have you tried? Well, my number one question to ask people, even if that are working with me, for me, or around me, when they need some help, is what have you tried that hasn't worked? What have you tried that? Because if you hadn't tried anything, and everything you tried worked, you probably wouldn't be asking me, right? So what have you tried that hasn't worked? So, are you taking risks? Are you putting yourself out there? it's just about any category you can think, but failure comes in everything. I mean, it can be in your career and professional life. That's what we think of a lot. And that's where I had to fail to the point where I couldn't go any further down before it turned around for me. And that exact circumstance is how someone came to me, and they were almost in the same position, and they were ready to give up. And I said, what if you give up and it's about to turn around? What if you held on another 3 months or 6 months? I didn't know. I mean, advice scares me a little bit because I don't want to lead somebody the wrong way, or somebody take my advice and fail horribly. That's why it's a what if, and we talk it through. So career and professional life, you're going to get setbacks eventually. I mean, changing jobs. Did I do it at the right time? Should I just stuck it out? You getting laid off? Oh, during COVID. I mean, I haven't been the recipient of it, but I've had to do it. I mean, I've had the horrible corporate type things I've had to do with mergers and acquisitions. I mean, the week of Thanksgiving, having to lay people off between Thanksgiving and Christmas. It happens. Failure could be missing out on a promotion. Some people think, oh, well, it's all wrapped up. And a lot of people, you think you got the greatest job in the world. Great, I love my job. Oh, it's fantastic. Then you find out a guy that's not as talented as you is making more money. Oh, wait a minute. Now this job sucks. That's another version of failure. So you've got to constantly be honing your skills and trying to do better, and you've got to have that right mindset. And we'll talk more about that. So career and professional failure, it's going to happen to some degree. Some people's devastating failure, maybe, it's a little bit of a setback. No big deal. It doesn't matter. What happens to you is just as bad as any of the people I said earlier. Then you got, this is a tough one, the relationships. It can be any kind of relationship. I mean, marital, partner, friend, social life, all of that, that's rough. Romantic relationships, I've been lucky in that regard. That's why I got my wife when she was young, put a ring on it, and boom, done. I don't have to worry about any of that. Just kidding. Being from Alabama, I promised my wife I wouldn't make any more incest jokes. So I'm not going to at this point, but Anyway, but misunderstandings can cause a setback, can cause failure. And I think that hurts worse. I see a lot of friendships that are messed up because of a misunderstanding. Well, it's a failure. And you look back, and a lot of times the failure is you failed to act on something, which made it worse because you could have maybe prevented it. I'm not going to get into problem solving now, but family dynamics. I am so fortunate around it, and I keep talking about how fortunate you are. I am. Well, I am. I think that's why failures hit me so hard too, is because I believe I've drawn a good hand. My family, I've got a great relationship with my, sisters, dad, in-laws, kids. It's going well. However, that's why when there is grit in the gears, it's so much worse. And a lot of people, I talk to them and everything's going great, but I can tell something's wrong. Something's wrong. And maybe it's somebody I know well. And, it's what I talk about. If somebody's a little off, how you doing, man? You all right? Everything okay? You need to talk about something? You want to go get a cup of coffee? Oh, I'm fine. All right. Well, you don't act like it. You're not your normal self. And a lot of times, if it's in relationship side, and this is failure, it's part of this, because you can succeed at everything except one thing. I see it with parents and kids is more devastating than anything. There's a million jobs out there, jobs, literally a million jobs and more. You don't get that many chances at relationships with parents and kids, and people really struggle with it. And hopefully we'll have a word or two on if you have a failed relationship, your fault or not. We'll talk about it a little bit. Personal goals. Hey, I want to do this. I want to get here. This is aside from career or anything like that. But I mean, maybe it's I want to learn a new hobby. I want to lose weight. I want to have a fitness routine to get me where I need to be. I want to find a somewhat portly bald guy with glasses that does a podcast to write self-help books. Oh, that's just crazy talk. All of this stuff, it's personal ambitions. People fail at that, and that affects work. If it's part of me time that I'm working on, well, that can affect family time. How do we deal with it? That's the key. Breaking bad habits, things like that. Maybe that's it. You quit smoking and all of a sudden you had a weak moment and now you're relapsed. Or relapse is a little strong for smoking, but I guess it depends on what you're smoking, isn't it? But, I was doing great on my diet, and oh my goodness, they came by with a dessert cart. Oh, I was cutting carbs, and oh, the pasta. Well, and I have to, I like to do cocaine with pasta. Failure. And you beat yourself up from it. Maybe you want to go to college, get a degree, get an advanced degree, something like that. Yeah, but I don't test well. All these things, and then you don't do well, or you fail at a class, or something like that. It's tough. A lot of people, they dread a class that's 2 semesters away so bad when they get there they're frozen. I know people that have been that way many times, and it's dealing with it, preparing for it, and then when you fail, it's just it's devastating. And then just around health, just your health, not so much your personal goals, like I said a minute ago, but your health. You're doing well. You're training for an event and you have an injury. You've been working towards something. Maybe it's a vacation or a getaway or a trip of a lifetime, and you get sick. You can't help that. You can't help that. And these setbacks, if you don't handle it well, it starts getting in your head. Oh, my goodness. That's where some of the negative things come in around people. Oh, things are going too good. Things are going too good. Something bad's going to happen. Don't you love being around those people? I'm around them a lot. I don't know what it is. It's just people wired that way. So all of these things, they have happened. They are happening. Oh, they're going to happen. So, reactions to this, a lot of times that's worse than the failure. A bad reaction. You failed. The failure's not as bad as your reaction to it. And what I mean by that, these are some reactions you need to get away from. You need to don't do these, or you failed again. I'm piling on you. It's what I do. I'm lying. So here they are. Don't do these. These are worse than the failure many times. And that's the being too harsh on yourself. I always say don't blame somebody else. Nobody likes anybody that plays the blame game. But don't be too harsh on yourself. Don't be too harsh on yourself. Yeah, okay, you could have done some things different. But if you keep beating yourself up, it's hard to recover. And now you got a self-esteem problem. Now you're not going to try again. And you're defeated. You defeated yourself. You got to differentiate between accountability and a toxic self-judgment. All right, I'm going to get to some ways to get over it, but that is just don't beat yourself up so much. Accept it. But all right, let's take this. What can I learn from it? Because if you do that, the second horrible reaction, all right, that's it. I'm done. I give up. Nah, why even try? And it may not even be that you blame yourself, but why try again? I knew I shouldn't have tried that. I knew I was going to fail. Well, that's part of your problem. But just to give up, well, if you give up, you'll never be successful. Failure is part of success. It's not the opposite. Persistence and resilience, that's why I talk about that so much. Because after you've failed a few times, that makes victory even sweeter. I know many times just looking at tennis, and you see somebody that they will play for years and years, and then finally they develop that resilience. Most of their physical talents are very similar. It's that mental toughness. When you get down, when something's not working and you overcome it. And then you get to the point to where I see it in golf and tennis and other sports. Football, for example, they played and played and played. They got great stats, but they haven't won the big one. You haven't won a major. You haven't won the Super Bowl and all of that. You realize how tough that is? Everything to come together to win the Super Bowl or to win a major championship in any sport. It's a lot of failure to get there. Don't give up. Don't give up. Let's take it down to more basic stuff. I talked at one time about my sister who failed miserably at cooking. Cooked a meal. It was horrible. It was absolutely horrible. But she tried, and she kept trying. Now she's a fantastic cook. Wonderful cook. It didn't get there. She failed many times on a small scale. Don't give up. Don't give up. The other side of that, the blame game or, that whole harsh criticizing yourself, is just total denial. Just denying it. Ignoring that you failed. That can create a lot of problems. You gotta take it, but just deny it, act like it never happened. Well, that's going to have all this other stuff built into it, but just to deny it or don't want to talk about it or avoid it, you're not going to learn anything from that. Avoidance is hardly ever a good thing when you need to build resilience. And probably the worst thing you can do is blame others. That's their fault. If it wasn't for that, I would have done well. Shifting that blame. And see, you're always going to have somebody to blame. And I remember different. Well, he has no one to blame but himself. Well, he'll find somebody. He'll blame God because it rained or the humidity was bad. I remember playing tennis a lot of times. They would blame their racket. I love that. Blame the racket. My goodness. That's crazy. I love the one thing that, good friend of mine is a great guitar player. The best thing he ever did for me when I got a new guitar, and I blamed the guitar. It's not a quality guitar. He got it and tuned it and started playing it. And, oh my goodness, that sounds great. I thought the reason he sounded so good is he had better equipment. No, he was more talented. Go figure. Blaming someone else or something else for your failure, that's toxic, and that will just cause you to fail more. 100%. So be weary of the person that blames other people. And then another terrible thing that comes from all of this, if you're not dedicated to something or want it bad enough, is you develop a crippling fear of failure. Yeah, I talked earlier in another podcast about being afraid of no. That's one of the biggest things in sales. If you're afraid of no, you need to find another profession. You're not going to make it. Well, fear of failure, why try? If you're afraid of that, it's a self-fulfilling prophecy. You become overcautious. Opportunity will come up. You're going to wait for the perfect opportunity, which will never come. And you may be somewhat successful, but not to any great degree. And you'll never be what you could have been, which is failure, in my book. So you gotta risk it. Without risks, risk and reward, 100%, 100% subscribe to that. But if you don't have the possibility of failure, the whole participation trophy thing. Please, come on, find a way to win. I remember a time, and I'm going to brag on myself here. I'll be a little rough. I remember we played a state tennis tournament, and you play until you finish because at 8 a.m. the next day it starts again, almost like a lot of softball tournaments and stuff like that. So I remember I was on the court 1:32 in the morning, and I wrenched my ankle. One of the few times I've ever twisted my ankle on a tennis court, which doesn't make sense because there's a lot of lateral movement. I guess when you move laterally, as slow as I do, you don't twist it. But I cranked my ankle. I was up to play singles the next day because that's what I was doing. I'm mainly a doubles player. I was playing the number 2 guy in the state, and I don't know how low I was. Let's just say I was low enough to where I didn't know my ranking. If I was top 10, I would have said, I was top 10. I was a doubles player. But it was such that I had to play this guy in singles, and he was good. So I got out there, and I thought, well, this is going to be over quick. And it was. I killed the guy. It's like 6'2", 6'3", something like that. And here's the deal. I realized I can't move, so I'm going to serve as hard as I can. He couldn't get my serve back. He's a good player, but he couldn't get my serve back. And then I'm thinking, okay, well, I can't move, so when he serves, I'm going to go for winners. It all lined up. And because I was playing well, he changed his game. Well, he could have killed me if he'd have stayed on his game, but he changed his game and did something he was uncomfortable. I found a way to win. And I didn't just say, okay, I'm hurt, this guy's really good, he can have it. No, that's one time I'm very proud of myself. And I just thought I would share that. So going back, give yourself a break. Don't be so harsh on yourself. Don't give up. Don't just give up. Don't deny that it happened or avoid any recollection of it. Surely don't blame others, and don't let fear cripple you into trying again. We can do anything, whether it's speaking or going on a walk. I got a friend who's done the Pacific Coast Trail thing. I got a friend who's done the Appalachian Trail. I don't see them a lot. They're out walking, and I'm sitting at a Krispy Kreme. There's so many things, and it can be a relationship. It can be all of these things we said earlier. Sometimes it's hardly anything to somebody else, but it's a big deal to you. That's it. So the thing is, failure unaddressed has a cumulative effect on you. Those people think that it's just bad luck, man. I can't do anything. I've never succeeded at anything. That has a cumulative effect on you, and it erodes your self-confidence. And that's each failure that can chip away to the point to where you've convinced yourself that you can't do it anymore. You get that fear of taking risks at all, and it's I talk about fear of failure. Well, that can spread to other things. That can spread to least or lesser important things in your life, but it's still important. But you won't even try that because, I failed over here, I'll probably fail over here, and it's a downward spiral. And you start thinking negatively about yourself. So we can't have this. We've got to nip it in the bud because we don't want that. And it's going to lead, what I always harp on, when you get your mind all screwed up, it affects all aspects of your life. Homework and play, and then physical. You're going to burn out. You're going to feel like a failure. You're going to act like a failure. You're not going to take care of yourself, and you're going to have those serious physical challenges that are long term. And you know what? You failed again if you let it go there. And then you're going to strain relationships. People aren't going to want to be around you. Man, he's in a bad mood. He's not taking care of himself. He don't want to go anywhere or do anything. He's not funny like he used to do. I can't get him to do this because, we can't even go out and chase women because he'll fail at that too. And plus, I don't think he could keep up anymore. Look at him. Have I painted picture for you. And it all starts with how you react to failure. Now, none of that is me and you. No. You may know someone who has slipped in this other area, and we can help them. You got to get there. You got to get them to a different place. They say you can't get there from here. Well, if they've slipped to some of this stuff, you can't all of a sudden get them up. All right, let's go conquer something. But I do have some ways that you can overcome failure and turn that into a source of strength or determination. And once you get there, that resilience builds. Yeah, all those people I said earlier, I know people in my life, I cannot believe what they've overcome. I know a man who has had every horrible situation in his family you can think of. And he's one of the nicest, most optimistic guys I know. Checks on everybody. I know a great athlete who he got a weird disease out of nowhere and lost his leg. He couldn't do any of that other stuff for a while. He got through his pity party, and then boom! Now he's in the not the Paralympics, but he's doing the the handicap stuff, and he's doing very well. And he does a great job. So many people that have been on drugs that are now they're off, and they're the only people that can reach certain people. So hey, that's the kind of people that we want to be. Hopefully we're not losing people, limbs, or on drugs. But here's what we can do to take failure and turn it around. First thing you have to do, you've got to accept it. Don't ignore it. Don't act like it didn't happen. Hey, you got to accept it without any denial or any excuses. It's normal. It's part of success. It's how I will get better. That's it. So, okay. There we go. I failed. I'm going to learn from it. The second thing is that I'm going to analyze this. Where did I go wrong? What did I get? How can I do better at that? Or what's a different tactic I can use? You look both of that. What's internal, and then what can I call upon to help me? Hey, I know I hate to use tennis again, but I was not that good until I started playing with really good people. They were friends, so they endured my learning curve, if you will. And I got better, and then it got, so what can I do to get better? And who can I call on to help me? Got to analyze this. Maybe you ask them, look, here's my situation. What do you think? What do I need? Don't do all of this yourself. And then you have to, with all of this feedback, all right, you're starting again. I am going to try again. So you got to adjust your mindset. Maybe adjust your strategy. And this can be on anything. From dating to your career, to pickleball, to arrowhead hunting, whatever. Learn from those who do it well, adjust, and change that mindset. Yeah, I didn't do this last time. That's why I failed. And then move on. The only real mistake is not learning from your mistakes. Then the next thing is set a new goal. Set a new goal. The thought of winning a tennis tournament at one point was beyond winning a tournament. Are you crazy? All right. Winning a match. Are you crazy? Going against Bryce Bishop. I want to win a game. I want to win a set. Set that goal. That's something you can achieve. Oh yeah, he beat me, but look at that. I aced him. Look at that. That was fantastic. It's not, I don't want to finish top 10 in this half marathon. I just want to finish the race. I don't want to puke on the course. There's your goal. And there's other ways to do it, and I'll talk about, professionally. Talk to the people. Now maybe not something you're competing with on a for a job or for a position, but to go back through these, talk to you didn't get the promotion, ask that person who didn't give it to you, what could I have done better? What were my weaknesses? That kind of, and set new goals. Ask for help. Get that. And you're not going to do this the next day, but their goals need to be realistic, and you've got to do something to light that flame again, to get you going, and believe you can, and focus on doing better. Your goal should not be to be the best, it's to be better. You keep being better, 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 you'll get where you need to go. And then, the resilience. You'll be more motivated the more resilient you are. And that's when okay, baby steps. I got this goal. I did that. I didn't beat him, but I did this. That kind of thing. I watched World Series last night. I try not to timestamp these, but the Yankees in game, whatever it was, they were up 5-0. Well, you can't just go out and hit grand slams like crazy. The Dodgers didn't give up. I'm not a Dodgers fan. I'm not really a Yankees fan. But I enjoy World Series baseball. Base hits. Every person that got up, it was all about getting on base and then accumulating that. With failure, to overcome it, you just need to get a little, wood on the ball. And that's how we do it. And that's going to make you more resilient, which is going to keep you motivated. Give yourself a break. You're still gonna fail from time to time. However, your attitude is going to determine how much others are willing to help you. I can remember so many times you got poor losers, and they have their pity party that doesn't end. Well, nobody wants to help them. And you think about the people around you that are struggling with failure. That could be the biggest advice you can give them. Like, okay, all right, well, eventually you're going to have to come up for air, and your attitude's not helping you. So when you come up for air, I'll be here for you. But you can't continue like this. That's not good for anybody. Okay, you're risking. Well, I failed again. Nah, that's some good advice. So be supportive. And sometimes that support is letting them know you're not going to get where you want to go acting like that. So let me help you. And there's all kinds of techniques for this to help someone. But the more resilient you become, the more motivated you'll stay. And motivation is what's lacking when people just give up. So I'm going to go back through those again because I went on a bit of a tangent there. But you've got to accept it. You've got to learn from it. What can I do differently? Adjust your mindset. All right, I got to adjust my strategy based on what I did and what I know and what people have told me. Here's a real switch in my mindset. Okay, based on that, I got to set some new goals and take action. Here's my goal. Here's my next step. That first step is the toughest one after a failure. And then you're going to develop the resilience. You're going to be more easily motivated. All right. So that's just a few things that I wanted to cover around failure. The thing is, we are being watched. I know many times in my career, and I sound so old when I say that. I don't feel old. People are watching you in defeat more than when you win. And that will determine a trajectory. I know when I've told the story several times, but there were two jobs. I could have gone for one, but I went for the other. I would have got this one. There were some reasons I did that for a buddy. I went for the other one. It was put on hold, and I didn't show how upset I was with the failure. I just put my head down and worked to spite them. They screwed up. I can't believe they've done this to me. I'm clearly the right person for the job. Had my pity party. I kicked a few things. I just acted like a real turd, but not publicly. Publicly, they saw that I handled it with grace, got back in there, and worked hard. And I heard many times, that's why I was picked for teams, cross-functional teams. That's why I was picked for the next promotion. When I handled failure in 2 or 3 different ways, that's why I was given a national position. how you compose yourself, not in the privacy of your own kicking room. However, people are watching you. I encourage you to not only understand that, but also watch other people. We talk about personally, let's surround ourselves with positive people. It's very important. And the opposite, get away from toxic people. Then, in our the play time where, our me time, we set up boundaries. Be very careful. So you're being watched and you have to watch other people. Also, I think the best part of being a human, and I think it's human nature, we genuinely want to help somebody. I think we do. Some people don't, but that's okay. We'll put them in the other bucket. This is a way you can help somebody when you see them fail. When they're doing well, they're a lot more fun to hang out with when they win. Everybody likes to hang out with the winner. Notice your friends, your family, even though sometimes it's your adversaries. When they are down, that's when you can help them most. It's hard to coach somebody who's always winning, but they're going to fail. They're going to lose at some point. That is when you coach somebody. And so I was in that situation. I might be in that situation again, but I encourage you, don't wait until they win. When they're down, this if you have kids, this. That's when you have those Andy Griffith moments where you give them that pep talk and you can do it again. And all. That's it. So we don't know what people are going through, but we know when they're not doing well, they have probably failed at something recently, and it's still getting them. They may think they've failed, and they really haven't. But give that word of encouragement, especially if you have been in their shoes before, which you probably have. I believe things happen for a reason, and people like that are put in our path. Sometimes the challenges we go through, the failures we go through, the reason for that may be so we can give that person a word at some other point. You would want someone to do that for your kid. So do that for someone else's, or have that positive impact. You do that, you're going to win more. You've already won when you do that. I hope this has helped. Please reach out to me, David at Otalks or davidotalks.com. I'm on TikTok, Instagram, some other stuff Kira's got me on. Kira is my intern. She's killing it. So thanks for joining. Thanks for the support. But most of all, thanks for O-Talking with Dave and Giddyup.